Hello friends, I'm the Reverend Terry Peterson, minister of St. John's in Gourik. Today is Tuesday, the 23rd of February, the 6th day in the season of Lent. So for our sixth object for Faith in 40 Objects, we have a choice really. So on my list for today is either a pet or a plant. So something else that's living in your house basically. I do have a pet, a cat called Andrew, but he does not wish to appear on camera apparently because he's hiding in his cave. So sometimes you might hear him on a video, but he won't be seen, at least today. So I've got here a plant. This particular succulent is so interesting because I sort of assumed, clearly without thinking, that this is what it would just look like all the time. Like I didn't really think about the fact that these sort of keep growing. So this plant recently has grown new shoots. So you can see like there's new growth on this plant, 2 new shoots there. And I actually pulled one out last week because I don't know what I was thinking. I thought something was wrong with the plant, but no, that's actual new succulent growth. So this plant is still growing, which is great. I've got some peace lilies. Let me see if I can do this. You can see them back there. That peace lily was gifted to me, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago. And it grew so much I had to repot it into 2 different plants. So I had to divide it and put it into 2 different pots. And I was so worried that it wouldn't survive because I'm not very good at plants. They generally die, but the peace lily, it turns out, is very hard to kill. So despite my constant underwatering or overwatering, it's still here. And even with my very amateur effort at repotting it, it's still going strong, so that's amazing. So perhaps you have a plant, perhaps you have a pet, but whatever it is, something living in your house, because especially for those of us who are on our own, it can sometimes feel like just taking care of ourselves is enough, but to take care of another living thing reminds us that we are not all there is, that there is something outside of us, outside of our minds, outside of our hearts, outside of our inward lookingness. Like we have to give our attention to something else, even if it's something that's so low attention as a succulent. It still needs a little bit of attention now and then. Like I have to remember to water it like, I don't know, once in a while at least. And clearly I've done a decent job because it's growing, which I might not have noticed if not for this project. So I'm glad that I noticed this plant today. So taking care of some other part of creation is a part of our calling because we are not just a little lower than the angels, but we are made as part of God's big creation. So we are meant to help to take care of it, to be tending it, to be co-creating it, to be a little bit like God's hands in the earth. So I wanted to read a bit of Genesis today. This is from chapter 2, beginning at verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, "You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall die." Then the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper as his partner." So out of the ground the Lord God formed every animal of the field and every bird of the air, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever he called them, it was its name. So we have this story of the first earth creature, the one that God created out of the dirt and breathed life into, made in God's own image, here has a task to take care of the garden. It says that the man's first task was to till and keep God's garden. And then God gave him another task, to name all of these other creatures as God created them, in hopes that one might be found who would be a good partner for him. Now, the word partner actually means sort of co-equal, like helper, and is the same word that's often used for God in the Psalms, like God be my helper, God. So we should not assume that that is a lower, but rather an equal or even a higher partner. So none of the animals fit that bill, and God can't fit that bill on God's own because of the whole problem of having a body. So I think that's so interesting, because as someone who lives with a furry friend, it's clear to me that he is not a partner, but he is a helper, right? I'm not sure that I could really do anything that I do without having a furry friend around. I love my cat and having him sit on my lap and be there to pet when I'm feeling anxious or when I'm feeling bored or anything that I'm feeling. The only thing is he does not like crying, so if there's ever any crying, he just runs off. He cannot take that. It makes him very angry. But he manages everything else, and he's someone to talk to, though he doesn't talk back. So I don't talk too much, I promise. But all these things that we take care of, whether it's a pet or a plant, are a reminder to us of that very first calling of humanity, to till and keep God's garden. So even though we no longer live in the Garden of Eden, we still live in God's garden. The creation is the garden of God. This belongs to God, and we are its keepers, its tenders, its stewards. So when we take care of some other part of creation, that's what I hope we will be thinking about. So when you see your plants or your pets, whether they feel to you like a partner in creation or in life, or whether it just is a reminder of our place as tenders of God's creation, I hope you will give some thanks for them and for your calling in that way, because that is the calling that all humanity shares, to take care of this earth that God has placed us in. So that's my Lent thought for today. I hope you have a delightful evening ahead, and I will see you again tomorrow. Peace be with you.